Hello, this is Christopher Kenworthy and welcome to the Visual Effects Compositing course. We have our grill or grid in place here in the trapdoor, but now we need it to animate and fall away at just the right moment. So this is going to be around the 2-second mark. So what I'll do here is split the clip, go to Edit, Split Layer, and then I'm going to delete it from this point. Just going to recolor our ceiling 4D to something different. I need to make another copy and adjust it. So the way to do this is go Edit Original, then go to File, Save As. We'll call this Animation, Save. Then in After Effects we import that, drag it to the timeline. And again, at exactly the same point, we split this layer, delete the first half, I'll recolor this, and so at this point the original shot is going to end and be taken over by the second one. Now this is a good point to get all the masking right before you go any further, so I'm just going to switch the resolution down, select our first ceiling clip and just play through a few frames, adjust this mask, and this way we can check that the bars are working all the way through this clip. You don't have to be too exacting at this point if you don't want. You have the option to just come back and do this later, but I think that given we're doing animation and checking how the bars look all the way through the shot, it's really quite important to see what's going on here. Now bear in mind the viewer doesn't really know what they're looking at. They don't know this is about something that's going to fall down in front of them. They just think they're looking up at some metal bars in a ceiling space. I mention this because it means you don't have to be completely perfect with your masking. It could be that once we've added all the smoke, sparks and everything else, raindrops coming through, that perfect masking would have been a waste of time. However, to see whether you're getting the result you want, it is worth spending a little bit of time just getting this reasonably accurate. And then we move over to the second clip. I'll just change this to standard draft. Now the difference here is that this second part of the clip is going to be animated and this is going to have a frame around it. So I'm certainly not going to mask this at this point. We'll work on it in Cinema 4D and then mask it. So in Cinema 4D I can now work with this layer at the 2-second point. So make sure you get hold of this and pull through to the 50 frame mark. And this is where the animation will begin. Now one way to animate this would to be individually get the bars and have them tumble down through the scene as though they've been exploded. That is acceptable, but there is something about over animating CGI objects that gives the game away. If we have all these spectacularly blasting through the scene, the audience knows that it's CG. If we just have it fall away like a frame, it looks so much like a real special effect that was done on set that that's what people will feel, and that's what you want. So you don't want to overdo this, you don't want to have these things flying past the camera and bouncing off each other. So we'll simplify this to make it look better. And we need to create a frame around it for it to fall away, so we'll create a cube. Then I'm just going to click on the dot at the right, the orange dot, expand that to make a bar. And then I'll use these move tools and position it so that it starts intersecting with our bars up there. I'll take it back towards that back edge and just rotate it so that it looks more as though it's in line with them. And that's almost the right size. I'll just adjust these dots again. You can see there, if I render, that's pretty much filling the frame behind it. So now I'll duplicate this cube by going copy, paste, and with the second cube selected I just drag this along this way, and the temptation is to arrange it here at the end, but in actual fact we're going to want it to be more down here because as it falls away that's the size of the frame that we're going to see. So now I'll select the null. So now I want to shrink these along one axis, so I'll select the null, and in the coordinates here I go down to the y-axis and just shrink that by dragging down. Then I'll reposition, make sure they're intersecting. They now need to be expanded a little, and just by moving backwards and forwards like this I can get a frame that's working for me. And now we want to create the two ends of the frame, so once again create a new cube. This time select the orange dot nearest to you, drag that way, and again this is just a case of positioning this in 3D space till it intersects. So in the 4 views here, drag this into position, and it's easy to see what you're doing up here. Get things to line up, and always keep checking up here, of course, and you can see that it's not remotely in the right place because we've not got it on the right plane here. So I'll just drag it up. Now it's starting to sit in the right position, and if we go back to this view and render it, that's looking very good. It's sticking out a little bit here, so I'll just shrink that down a little. So even if you're an After Effects user, you're going to learn enough 3D modeling to be able to get away with it. You'll be able to create something that looks real enough as it falls away. That's looking good now. Bear in mind, this is only going to be visible for a very few frames, so although I'm going to get this as accurate as I can and make sure I'm happy with it, it's really not going to be on screen for long, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to give an impression of a grill. So I'll now duplicate the second cube and move that along to the right hand side there. I'm just going to save this and have a quick look in After Effects. So with the correct background in place, we can now see how that's going to look. So the bars will be there, and then this grate will fall through after the sparks and explosion. In the next lesson we'll look at texturing and animating this.